Okay, so this is kind of a proof of concept demo part of extending the controller ports. So what I've done is I cut away the plastic on the first controller port because these are all connected. And then I extended the port with a 5 cable cable that I have. I have a few of these laying around. And there are 5 pins connected, data, power, ground, and another bidirectional data. And then the 6th port is unused, and then ground is connected to all of these. They go through the plug and then into the controller port. So it's just extended, so it's, as far as it's concerned, it's still plugged in. And the controller does work. So I have the wired one plugged in, and it moves, which is great. It also works with the Wavebird. So the receiver's plugged in, turn the controller on. Yep. So this is good, because the plan is I'm going to do the same thing here to all 4 of these, or the 3 remaining ones. And I'm going to drill holes into the front of the boom ball to mount these ports so that just this part is visible, kind of like Gamecube. And then I'm also going to reroute the LED, the reset switch, and replace the battery because this is very dead. And that'll be this whole thing. So that's the plan. It's a bit of a more in-depth one than the last one, just relocating the disk drive, because there's just a lot more involved. So the plan for this video, I'll try and get as much footage of relevant things as I can, is doing all of that, relocating the rest of these ports, cutting holes, securing things, and replacing the rest of these front board components. So I'm going to try and get these done relatively quick, but I'd like to get a hole cut into the GameSphere first for mounting this, so we know where they go and to measure them, and then I will move on to desoldering these. So I'm going to go get a hole cut, and then we will be back with discussing the plan going forward. Okay, so here's everything on the front Daughterboard relocated. It's a little messy at the moment just because everything's cut and wired to be so close together in here. So it's a little awkward to have in place right now. Everything works, everything's been relocated. The 4 controllers have been extended into these ports, or these cables that then plug into their corresponding ports, and this is just the wireless adapter for the Wavebird. So this way I can plug them all in once they're secured in place in here, and then it'll be like a normal port. The reset button is now wired into a switch that I have then attached to the inner housing that can be clicked with one of the buttons. And then the LED is also rerouted to just a longer JST plug. The battery also is being replaced. I haven't gotten to that at the moment. I ordered one of these kits that replaces the battery with one of the kind of like replaceable ones, something you'd see like a computer motherboard where you can pop the battery out with a tab and then replace it. So I don't need to desolder and resolder it. Again, in the future, I just gotta put a new battery in. So it's something I actually really recommend, even if you just have a GameCube or anything laying around with a quote non-replaceable clock battery. I would recommend a kit like that. So let's turn it on real quick. You can see LED still lights up. Flip this around. The LED lights up. There's a bit of white plastic in the front, just from an old project I had laying around, so it kind of diffuses the light in it a little bit, and it's where the headphone jack used to be. So if I grab the Wavebird, you can see it lights up. You can still move like normal, which is great. And then the reset button is behind this EQ one. So if I press it, it resets the GameCube like the reset button does. So the next step now, or the final step for this part, is to cut the holes for the controller ports. And I have 4 dots marking where I'm going to drill. And I just was waiting on these step bits, these stepper bits for my drill to arrive so that I could get more precise holes for these, because the controller ports are not, they're not a standard diameter. The outside circle is 17 millimeters, and then the hole and the faceplate that they sit in was 15, and those aren't real standards for at least here in America. So I got some step bits to get at least really close. So I'm going to go drill those. We'll hot glue these or find a way to secure these in place, and then we can be done with this part. So we'll be back when they're drilled. And here is all of the ports secured into place. They're secured in right now with a pretty much war crime amount of hot glue. I'm hoping to try and use something in here to secure them. There are 2 screw posts, but I don't really know how best to secure them in using just these 2 things. So I need to do a little bit of experimentation, see if there's anything better. But they are in place, which means we are done relocating the top panel, or the front daughterboard panel. So my Wavebird receiver fits nicely. So I'm really happy with how these turned out. This was actually going to be the scariest portion of the whole project for me, because I have to cut some holes, obviously, for like memory cards and AV port and stuff. But this is drilling into it, and I was really worried that if something happened or the plastic was too old or something, that I would drill and it would crack and I would just be done, because there's no coming back from that. These things are too expensive to buy a replacement, and gluing it would just not look great. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how these turned out. There's a little bit of cleanup I have to do around the holes, but they all look great. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So our next step now is relocating and extending the motherboard stuff. That's going to be these 2 memory card ports and the AV out port. So a little worried about doing these, because I'm worried that by adding in length to all of these, especially the AV one, they'll be susceptible to electromagnetic interference or signal degradation, and it won't work or won't look great. Not that 360p looks great in this day and age. Anyways, but that's the next step. So I need to desolder these and then wire them in. I've got some 12-pin Molex connectors we'll be using for these. So keep an eye out for that one. If this is your first time watching anything in this project, I can link the initial video of this project, so you can go ahead and watch from the beginning if you'd like. Otherwise, keep an eye out for the next part with these, and then after that, we would be like 95% done. So yeah, keep an eye out for this upcoming portion. I'll try and have that out around the same time. It's just gonna be a little bit more in depth than even just the front panel one. So thank you for watching. This was a lot of fun. I'm really happy with how this whole front daughterboard stuff turned out, and I'm really looking forward to finishing up this project. I think it's gonna be great.